Hi, this is Carmen Lynch. I'm so excited to be here. And I'm going to take puppies into my Immigrant Jam, like baby pit bulls. And I'm going to hang out with them in my Immigrant Jam, which is like a jam, but it's a strawberry Immigrant Jam. Oh, I love cherries. Cherry Immigrant Jam with baby pit bulls.
I love that. Baby pit bulls covered in cherry Immigrant Jam. All right, people, we are back with another episode of Immigrant Jam, the podcast where we have the most amazing, delicious, and nutritious immigrants on, and also puppies covered in strawberry jam. Today is a very special day because we have one of the funniest humans ever to have walked this planet on the jam. That's right. She has been all over the television, all over your dreams. She's on tour right now, and her name is Carmen Lynch. Carmen Lynch.
Thank you. I've been in your dreams.
Of course. Welcome. Thank you for jamming on the Immigrant Jam.
You know what? I sometimes forget that I'm the daughter of an immigrant.
Do you?
Now I do.
You do? So you feel very American now?
I mean, I was born here, but my mother wasn't. And she has a lot to say about the immigrant situation.
Oh, what, should we call her? Put her on speakerphone. But wait, I heard you say that you were 3 when you left the U.S.
Yes.
To go to Spain. And then you came back when you were 8. And this is a direct quote from you, Carmen.
Uh-oh.
All my psychological problems stem from moving.
I swear to God, this is a real high five. This is a therapy high five.
Yeah.
My therapist always brings it back to age 8. It's so weird. I'm like, why was that move so traumatic? It's not like I was, gang raped in an alley in Siberia. And she's like, you take it how you did. Your brain wasn't developed. All that shit, where you're just like, it was difficult for you and da-da-da. But it all stems back to 8.
I was 8 when we moved here from
Really?
Germany. Yeah.
And what did you move around a lot before 8?
No. I mean, we moved once, but I was like 2.
Yeah.
But you moved around a lot, right?
We moved around in Spain, and then we moved around before Spain. When I was 3, we moved around in the States. But you think that like, okay, so I moved around, and there are positives to that too. But it's funny that
So what do you think? What do you think are the effects? The lasting psychological.
Effects are like, I'm told by my therapist, who I fired. That's a different story.
Nice.
That there's a lot of fear of abandonment, which I agree with.
Makes sense.
Fear of commitment, which I've worked on and now have a boyfriend of 7 years. But before that, let me tell you. No way. No, you would not get past 3 months. I don't care how amazing you were. I was like, goodbye. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Stuff like
so
that.
That's not too bad. That's not too heavy of a load to bear.
No, but
fear of abandonment
attaches
and fear
to
of commitment.
If something is like, why am I not doing this right? Well, if you link it to your fear of abandonment, like it's just so annoying.
How did you fire your therapist? I'm personally interested because I'm interested in firing my therapist, but I don't know how.
Okay, so first thing, I was with her for like 14 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Holy shit.
Because of this fear of commitment. I was dating people for 3 months and then just ghosting them or leaving or whatever. And then one day I was like, wait, I kind of like this guy. Why do I want to run for the hills? And then I was like, oh, I think I can't commit. So I went to her for that. And she was like, can you commit to me? And I was like, yeah, you're not a dude and I don't want to fuck you. So yes. So 14 years later... Look at that commitment, 14 years.
That's amazing. You were like, I'm cured.
I'm committed.
Yeah.
But then, she was in her, during COVID, she turned 72.
Ugh, gross.
And how dare she? And I was like, I'm going to keep her for COVID, but I missed the one-on-one. Like, so we started doing phone sessions, and then she's like, do you want to do Zoom? And I hate Zoom.
Yeah.
I just hate it.
Who likes Zoom?
Plus, like, I feel like on the phone, I'm more open because I'm not like going like, what's that line on my face?
You have to look at yourself the whole time. Yeah.
So we did phone for a while, and then she was like, do you want to do Zoom? And I tried Zoom, and I was like, are you ever ever coming back to the real world? Like, and she's like, no, I dropped my office because, you know, and then she had heart surgery. And I'm like, this woman, no offense to, I'm all for ages. Like, I'm anti-ageism, but
Yes.
I'm like, I need to see someone in person. And you know what happened was when I first started with her, I had a lot of mother issues too. So she was kind of that older mother type, and she like got me through a lot of stuff. But when I got over all that, she kind of stayed mothery. And I was like, I can't. So there'd be things where I was like, this happened today. And she'd go, aw. And I'm like, I can't have my therapist go, aw. Like, I need her to be objective. Well, what, you know, neutral or whatever.
Yeah.
And it just got too familiar. And she admitted that that was the case. But I can tell you right now, I haven't learned. Like I learned more from her than anyone in my entire life. I hope my mother's not listening. Or about myself. She was hands down, could not have asked for a better therapist, but I think there's definitely a window where you're like, this job is done.
Right. Yeah.
But now it's weird because I'm shopping therapists. And I was recommended someone who is younger than me. And I'm like, that's weird.
That's
like,
weird. Yeah,
are you going to know how I feel?
That is weird. So you were talking about mother issues, but your mom is from Spain.
My mother's from Spain.
From
a very small town. Actually, they would say Catalunya because it's not Spain.
Right. Oh, no.
It's
you
a small,
you can't say Spain.
Small town called Tortosa. And it's like 2 hours from Barcelona. So I just say Barcelona because...
And is that where you moved when you were 3?
No, we moved to Rota, which is outside of Sevilla, which is in the south. And then we moved to Madrid 2 years later.
I have one tiny tattoo, and I got that in
What?
Sevilla. Yeah.
I love Sevilla.
Yeah, Sevilla is amazing.
What does your tattoo say?
It's an F.
For?
For foot. No, it was case I forget.
For Sevilla.
Yeah. For Felipe, for no longer affiliated. No, it was actually my best friend at the time, Philippa.
Oh.
She was living in Sevilla and she got an L. It was like a friendship tattoo. But I loved Sevilla. We were there. I was there for Semana Santa, which is like epic there. And I'll never forget them. For people who don't know what it is, it's Easter.
It's
right?
Easter with the hats.
Yeah. The Ku Klux Klan.
I thought they were Yes. I was like, I remember I came to America and I was like, wait, these are bad people? But we partied with them and saw parades with them in Spain.
You're like, they're priests.
How weird is it that they have the same hat, though?
They got them from the Catholics, didn't they?
I guess. Yeah,
I
you know more
I
history than I do. Okay.
No,
yeah.
I have no idea. I'm guessing. I don't know anything about the KKK. I swear. I'm Jewish, so if I did, it would be okay. It would be a self-defense mechanism. Do you want to be Jewish?
Yeah,
Why?
it just seems like there's such a tight community, you know?
See, it's so funny because I don't
there's my fear of abandonment.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
That's true. But being Spanish seems way more, like you have way more of a community.
Yeah, but not here. It's all Latinos. And I love the Latinos, don't get me wrong.
Spanish from
but
Spain,
I've done Latino shows where they're like, I'm sorry, you're from Spain? What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Like that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But most of the time they don't care.
And you're not allowed to do the
Or they're like, why is your skin so white? You're not Latina. You know what I mean? But
right. But it was a culture shock for you moving from Spain to America. And where did you move to when you moved to the US?
We moved from Madrid to Virginia.
Whoa.
And I remember my dad was like, I go, why are we leaving? Why are we going to America? And I remember he was always like, because they have good schools. And I'm like, well, this school's fine. I don't care. And I mean, I didn't know it was, it was for his work. He was in the military, so whatever. But I just remember going to school. I was in the 3rd grade and everybody was happy.
In the U.S.
In the U.S. compared to Spain. I think they were just more like normal, like not normal, but just not. Like I remember and the alarms that went off at the elementary school, it'd be like ring, you know how the bells go off and the loudspeaker comes on. All of that was new.
Yeah.
And I was like,
you didn't
who's
have that in Spain.
No.
Right.
No,
what would happen in Spain?
The teacher would be like, it's time to go. She would just talk.
Yeah.
But I remember one of the most embarrassing things was the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, yeah.
And, every morning the bell would go off or whatever. And the speaker, they were like, now let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I didn't listen to the words. Like I was like, because I was mostly Spanish at that point. I spoke English, but I didn't feel American. And they were like, let's, face the flag. And then I would just turn and I would look at everyone, and no one explained this to me. So I was like, okay, what is that guy doing? Okay, so put your hand here. I pledge fantastic. Like, I didn't know the words, right? And then I'm looking I'm like, where's everybody looking? And I'm looking at and I wasn't listening. So I was like, I guess you're supposed to look at the corner of the ceiling. Like, you just look there. And then one day, so embarrassing. I remember this so well. And then one day we were like painting on the floor. Like, we all had those like big pieces of paper and we were painting on the floor. And the thing went off and it was like, but let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. But I was on the other side of the flag. Like, the flag wasn't exactly on the corner. It was over here. So I literally touched the wall. I was like, and I looked up and behind me, and I'm like, the entire class must have seen me like facing the wall, like pledging to the corner of it. Like,
they're like damn
clueless
Spanish people.
So, and there were so many moments like that where I'm just like so clueless.
Yeah.
And my therapist, I remember she was always like, well, no one gives you a manual. You don't know what to do, and you had to learn it all yourself. And of course, that's why everything goes back to age 8, because you just, whenever you feel like a dumbass, you're like, well, you felt dumb at 8. It's not your fault.
You're still 8 on the inside. Yeah, exactly. That's it. No, but I totally relate to that. I'll never forget my first day at school. I didn't speak English.
Yeah.
I just was looking around, and everybody looked so like happy. I remember that too, like big smiles.
Yes, and colorful.
And
they're
welcoming.
Welcoming.
Which would have never happened in Germany.
No, what is it about Europe that they're just more dry or something?
Yeah, of course.
And then I remember watching American TV, and there were commercials all the time, and just weird stuff like that.
Did you have an accent when you moved?
I think a small one, but more than an accent, I just said things wrong. Like I remember my dad would always get me on this, but I would say a double negative. Like, I'd be like, I don't want no broccoli, because in Spanish you can use a double negative. So I would say stuff like that, and then people would laugh. And then I would keep it inside. So I was really shy, because I think I learned early, like, don't talk. So a lot of it, again, is from that.
Yeah, and that's why you became a stand-up comedian.
So I can talk.
But everybody has to shut the fuck up.
I don't want no broccoli.
Carmen Lynch's new hour. Wait, that's what her last hour was called. Yes, every hour is called I Don't Want No Broccoli.
Part 7.
I still don't want no broccoli.
And I remember my dad was like, I don't want any. And I was like, I don't get it.
That's great. Your mom spoke English when you guys moved here?
She spoke a little bit. Yeah. No, well, actually, when she married, my parents only went out 4 times before they got married.
Wow.
In a span of like 2 years. So like my dad went to Barcelona on a ship because he was in the Navy. Oh. He met her. It was a very West Side Story. Like, they met at a dance club.
Yeah.
And then my mom spoke no English. So her friend was with her. So she played translator. And then he's like, all right, well, I'll see you in 6 months when I can come back or whatever.
Wow.
And then they wrote each other letters in between. So I always ask my mom for these letters, because I'm like, how did you guys talk to each other? Dad spoke no Spanish. She spoke no English. Are there diagrams on the pictures? Like little stick figures, So yeah, they barely spoke. And then my dad on his 4th time to Spain proposed.
Wow.
And then married her and then brought her back to Georgia.
But she didn't realize he was proposing because she couldn't speak English.
Yeah. She's like, why is he on his knee? Did I drop something? Yeah. And then they moved to Athens, where my sister was born. No, Athens, Georgia.
Oh, okay,
sorry.
okay.
And that sounds nice. Greece? Yes,
nice.
Greece. And so then she was like with the military wives, because they were on base and whatever. So I think she learned English. She said she learned English from watching General Hospital.
Oh. So she
speaks
very dramatic.
That was one of my first jokes where I was like, the chicken is ready.
Exactly. But it's so funny because I'll never forget that too. When we moved here, living in Germany, we were never allowed to watch TV. It was like a big thing, no TV, or only we had little rations of TV a week. And then here, my dad was like, watch as much TV as you want to learn English. And for me, that sealed the deal of America being the greatest country ever. Because now, And so there are things like that. I definitely learned English through like watching Monty Python, Faulty Towers. I'll never forget a prawn cocktail. I didn't know what that was. I thought it was the funniest word I'd ever heard in my life. I laughed about prawn cocktail for like 2 weeks.
But that's just a shrimp cocktail, right? Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
It's just the word
But
prawn.
I don't like, I don't use
frozen.
prawn. Yeah.
The word frozen, in German, you pronounce it frotzen.
Okay.
And Fotze in German is like cunt.
Ooh.
Like a really
cunt
harsh
cocktail.
word for pussy.
Yes.
So I'd walk by places and it would say frozen yogurt. My dad and I would die laughing about frotzen yogurt.
I love that you had to tell me that a cunt was a mean word for pussy. Is that what that word means?
Carmen, I know that in Virginia, people are very nice. Okay.
Listen, I don't know what that word means. I've never heard it. But I did take German in high school. I forgot to tell you.
Ach, yeah? Is this true that I read that you tried to be in the FBI?
Oh, my God, yes. Where did you get this info? Is it online?
I'm a sleuth.
my God.
Detective Pole.
I called the FBI after college. And I said, I speak like it was like I was a brilliant genius. I speak Spanish. Do you need me? And they're like, well, usually we do, but we are at capacity. We'll call you when we need, when we're getting applications, for whatever. So I'm like, fuck, this is never going to happen. And then one day I got a phone call and they're like, will you apply? We're looking for Spanish
How do they
speakers.
call you? They say, hi, this is the FBI?
I mean, I don't remember if I got a letter or something, but I remember I went through my William and Mary alumni directory and found an FBI agent and went and asked him for an interview. And I went to his house. This is in Virginia because Quantico is near where we lived, the training center.
Yeah.
So I went to this guy's house and he's like, you want to be an FBI agent? And I was like, absolutely. This, 100%. I'm Jodie Foster, whatever. Like, this is me. And he's like, do you want a husband and kids? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, it's not going to happen. He's like, it's very hard to do both. And I was like, that's fine. I was like, whatever. You don't know me, sir.
Yeah.
I can do everything. I speak Spanish. So I applied, and the first 2 parts, like they tell you what the parts are. And it's like, I was running all the time because I ran track. And I was like, I'm going to get the physical fitness part. And they're going to be like, she's a star.
I love
and,
this.
But the first part was math. And it wasn't called personality, but it was called like analysis or something like that. I can't remember. And I loved math. So I was like, I'm so going to pass this part. So I studied the math part. And then I get there and it's so intimidating. Like everyone's just sitting at a table and they're like, ready, set, go, the timer, And then I get to this analytical personality part and all the answers seemed right. They was like, they're looking for a certain type. Okay, so this would be a question. I remember this question. They were all like this. It'd be like, you're working on a project at your office and it's due, you still have a lot left to do, but it's due in an hour. Do you ask your coworkers for help? Tell your boss. Just go to your boss's office and be like, I can't do this. I won't finish it. So you're honest. 3, do as much as you can, but at least you did it yourself. And 4, whatever. Right. And I'm like, well, I could ask. Right. And I'm like, I could ask coworkers, but I could also be honest with my boss.
Yeah.
And then it got in my head. I'm like, which one is it? These are all wonderful answers. And then, I realized there's a certain type they want for this job. And so now in my head, I'm going like, well, I don't care what I want. Which one do they want? Which one do they want? They want me to do all the work. No, they want me to be a team member. Like,
yeah. Which one did they want to think?
And I don't know, but all of the answers made me crazy. And of course I get the skinny envelope. Like, I did not pass. That's all you find out.
Mike? What do you think? What answer were they looking for?
Probably Watt had a camera on you with like sensors to see like how you reacted physically.
Yes.
And then that's how they decided.
And when they
Seriously,
graded
that's probably
your-
more likely what happened than
When they
anything.
graded your test, there was 2 guys, and one of them was like, no, and the other one was like, but she speaks Spanish.
And then what they told me before I applied, they're like, just so you know, because you speak Spanish, you'll probably get into like a drug, like a cartel kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So like Colombia. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I'm still Jodie Foster. I got guns, And now I look back and I'm so glad. I mean, I was so wrong for that job. There's no effing way I'd be able to do that.
So you didn't know you wanted to do comedy at that point?
No, I didn't find out till much later. Like during this FBI time, I was still in Virginia. I worked at a bank.
Wow.
And I was taking acting classes at a church. That's all I could find.
Wow.
Because I loved acting in high school. And then in college, I never acted because I had to study. It was just really hard. So after college, I started taking these acting classes. And then immediately I was like, you know what? I'm going to be an actress. I'm moving to New York.
I speak Spanish.
I'm going to be a Spanish actress out of Miami, but no, New York. And then in New York, taking these acting classes, one of my roommates was like, let's go to a stand-up show. And I'm like, what's that? Like, I didn't know anything about it. I mean, in Virginia, the only comedy I ever saw was like Three's Company on TV. Like, I just wasn't.
Governor.
Yeah. No, it wasn't a thing. So I went to the stand-up show and I thought, watching, this is how clueless I was. I wish I remembered who I saw, but I watched these comedians and it was New York Comedy Club. And the reason I know it's because I lived on 23rd. So, and I know it was nearby. So it must have been that.
Yeah.
And it was before 9/11, so it was a million years ago.
Yeah.
And even then, I still didn't start it. I was like, oh, I'm going to hit that thing one day. I'm going to do it. But I watch these comedians and I go, they're so funny. I can't imagine what it's like to be like this 24/7. Like, I literally thought they just joked all day. Hey, you know what my dad's like? Bro, insert joke. Like, and I was like, that's not fair. And then someone told me, no, they write jokes.
Yeah.
So then I looked for a writing class and I started it that way because I was like, there's no way I would know how to do this without a class.
And did you, from the get-go, because you said one of my earliest jokes was your mom's English from General Hospital. So you went there from the get-go to like this like cross-cultural upbringing and everything?
Because I remember I took a class. And it was, I don't know if you remember, they used to have these newspapers that were free outside. They were called the Learning Annex. Anyway, there was one and it said stand-up comedy class and it was only 3 days. And I was like, I'm just going to do this because I'm not going to invest in something if I don't even know what it is, right? So I took this class and the teacher was a comic, but he had a heroin problem. And he would just pass out pictures of when he was on heroin. And he was like, don't do this. See, everybody, this is me with a problem. Stand-up comedy, you'll have a lot of temptations to do this and that. And I was like, what kind of job am I getting into? It was so scary. And so I would go to these comedy things and I'd be like, don't go near the bar. You're gonna become an alcoholic. Like, I remember this teacher told me, don't go, you know. But I loved the jokes. So then I went to Caroline's and they had this 8-week course. And at that course, they were always, they said, talk about what you know and what you look like. Because it'll make you stand out if it's something personal, right? So not like, oh, airplanes are weird, aren't they? You know? So I'm like, my mom's Spanish.
Right.
You know, I'm tall. So all my jokes are about I'm tall and my mom's Spanish. That's it.
Did it bother you that your mom had an accent and stuff growing up, or that you guys were from somewhere else?
So embarrassed.
Yeah,
so embarrassed. I wrote about 300 pages of a memoir, and I still have to read it. I'm just too scared to even.
As a teenager?
No, I wrote this about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And there's a lot of chapters about how I would go shopping with my mom in high school. Or even middle school, you know, when you can't drive yet.
Yeah.
And she's, you know, Spanish people can be very loud.
Yeah.
And I remember she would pull out a dress. I love that this is here because it's my prop for everything.
Yes. The stress chicken.
She would pull out this dress and be like in the middle of like Sears, of course, or JC, but like the worst stores possible. And she'd be like, ¿Qué piensas de este vestido, eh? ¿Te gusta? Es muy mono. And everyone would look and I would hide. I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. And then everyone was like, who's this crazy woman talking to? Because no one was around.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, one of my earliest jokes was like that people would come over and they thought my mom was a cleaning lady because we look so different. She's 5 feet tall. You know, we just look so, I'm like my dad. I'm super tall and just very long, same face kind of. My sister is way more like my mother.
That's so funny.
But yeah, I was so embarrassed. And then I felt so bad. And this would be considered like racist now, but I would like imitate her accent.
Right.
Because when she got mad at me, she would do it in Spanish, but sometimes she'd be like, don't do that to me. And I'd be like, okay. And she was so hurt. I was like, I can't believe I did that. And she was like, ¿Cómo puedes hacer eso? And I was like, oh my God, she's taking it so seriously. But I go, but in my head, it was just funny. It sounded funny.
That's
you know?
so funny.
My mom can be very, even if she's tiny, she can be very pushy.
Yeah.
Like when they used to visit, now they're kind of too old to come to New York. It's too crazy for them. So I go to Virginia. But they would come to the city and we would ride the subway. And, you know, during rush hour, it's crazy packed.
Yeah.
So she would like push me, like, let's get on, push me. And one time she pushed me and I accidentally pushed the guy in front of me.
Oh, shit.
And he turned around and he's like, what the fuck? And I was like, it wasn't my fault. And she goes, it was my fault. We are from the village. From the village. And I never forgot that. Like
We are from the village. I love that. That's great.
Oh my God, there's so many like stories like that. Poor
But
woman.
you grew up after you moved here. I also read I have been working with the FBI for 23 years on this interview.
with my dad.
I have the test right here with all your answers. You circled. Tell your boss the truth. You said that you went to Spain every summer.
Yes, every single summer because we were my dad was in the military, so we'd fly these planes that were like $10. They were like military planes. So you
What do you mean $10? Like you guys paid $10?
We paid $10, and they were
That's so funny. Oh, hey, you got $3? I got $7. Let's go to Spain. All right, let's go. We're going to the village.
Oh my God. No, we always went, there were all these different military bases and we'd always go to Dover, Delaware. That was ours. And we'd go there and they have this thing called, I forgot what it's called, but it's like kind of like wait and see. It's kind of like that, but it's not wait and see.
Standby.
Standby kind of thing.
Yeah.
So sometimes we'd have to stand by for a few days, but it was $10. My parents were like, no, we're going through the military.
It was really $10?
It was, I mean, back then, it's probably like 50 now or something.
Yeah. Wow.
But it was so weird. It was just normal to me because I'd never experienced a real plane. And I remember the first time when my dad retired, we went on TWA and I walked in and I go, they have windows.
So you really flew on military planes?
On military
like
planes.
Strapped in?
They weren't.
They were like, Mom, can I have some water? And she like jumped out of the plane on a parachute.
No, the C5s were like regular looking. And then I think it's the 147s or something, or the 747s had what you're talking about. And I wanted those, but we never got those.
And
I
there
think
was
because
like
we were
terrorists
kids.
with like bags over their heads also sitting there.
Yes.
They're like, we just have to drop them off. Okay.
Drop the bomb first.
Yeah. We're taking a detour to Serbia.
But yeah, it was crazy. And then and then years later, I did military tours, and it was on those same kind of planes.
Comedy military tours.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, so this was what it would have been like with the, the straps, those side planes.
Yeah, right.
The back of, in Lost, I was like a huge fan of Lost, but at the end when they come back to America and the back opens up, the back of the plane, and they all walk out.
Oh, like in Close Encounters.
Kind of thing. Yeah. So when we did that on a military plane, I was like,
that's
I'm
cool.
a fucking badass now.
Yeah, that's why you wanted to go to the FBI.
Yes,
that's
totally.
amazing. So, but now you feel American or Spanish or not? You don't care?
I mean, I feel more American always because I've lived here. I think I felt more Spanish until I was 8, and then I was confused for a long time.
Yeah.
But I still feel like I have kind of a
traumatized.
Thank you, my therapist. But I still feel sometimes I still feel like I get triggers. Like I remember one time 10 years ago, I said something the wrong way.
Yeah.
And my boyfriend at the time, not this guy, but my boyfriend at the time, he was like, he totally, because it was funny. I said it funny.
Yes.
And I started crying.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my God, it's still in there. Because I think I got teased for the way I said things.
Of course.
But yeah, now I'm going to Spain to do shows in Spanish, and I feel like such a gringo, like such
is
a
it
Yankee.
easy to be funny, like to write jokes in Spanish for you? Or you're not translating your
Some of
English
them
jokes, are you?
I sort of am. Just because I'm curious to see how they work.
Right.
But I don't translate them like word for word.
Yeah, no,
I'll
that'd be weird.
But at first I was doing that.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like, oh my God, I'm so scared. Let me just, what's the word for da-da-da? And now I'm just like, you know what? Like tomorrow I have a Spanish show and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go in there and just talk, because especially in New York, it's different than like Spain, because there's so many Latinos here.
Yeah, right.
And the words are different.
Yes.
So if I use a word from Spain, they look at me like, what?
Yeah.
And sometimes when I don't know a word here, I'll be like, how do you say hiking? And there's like 5 different answers that come out of the audience. And I'm like, which one should I use? I'll use that one. It's easier, you know?
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's just, it's challenging.
So did it take a long time to love the fact that you're always, because like you're saying, you're always a little bit of an outsider, right?
Yeah.
Like here, you're Spanish, but everybody's Latino. And then in Spain, they're probably like, well, you're American.
Exactly.
Right?
I never fit in.
Yes, exactly.
It's that abandonment again.
But there's some people, and I think everybody who has this like immigrant or cross-culture experience, especially if you move at like a conscious age.
Yeah.
But I think there's some people that I've had on the podcast that talk about it. They're like, no, I never wanted to fit in. I never had that need. I'm like, what? I was so fucking obsessed with fitting in that I started talking with a Puerto Rican accent growing up in New York.
You know what? That's so funny. You know what? Because I was very tall from the beginning.
Yeah.
So now when you go to Spain, you're like, oh, people are growing finally. Like there's something in the water, you know? But back then, no. I was a giraffe in Spain. So even
for people listening, how tall are you?
6 feet.
Yeah, that's tall.
So, my entire Spanish family, I'm taller than everyone. Now I have like one cousin's kid is taller than me.
And you hated that
like,
when you were a kid?
Oh my God, yeah, because I wanted to blend in.
Of course. And literally you couldn't blend in.
And I couldn't blend in. And then I wore a back brace in high school or middle school. And I'm like, here we go. Now I'm wearing a freaking corset in front of everyone as a giraffe. Like it just never, you know what I mean? And at that age, you're just like, I know it could be worse.
Yeah.
But you're like, I just want to blend.
Right. But now do you love it? Do you love being tall?
Oh yeah, no, I do. And if pants don't fit, you know what? You wear boots. Nobody knows. No one can see that they're high waters. Okay.
Hey, I have the same problem. I'm 5'1".
Yeah.
Pants don't fit.
Yeah, but can't you just hem them?
Yeah, but would they hem them? You have to take them somewhere. I'm not a seamstress.
At least you can take them somewhere.
Then just pull on yours. They'll stretch.
I used to have that, when you had the hem and then you undid it.
Undo it?
But then you
That's
still have
so
the line.
Oh my God. I've never talked to someone who had the opposite problem. I always
Yes.
had them tucked under.
Yes.
Because, okay, you can hem them, but that's a whole process, you know? So mine were always tucked under. So they had this like weird, like crinkly, like bunched up thing to them.
And then the other thing is people always look at my feet, like to see if I'm that tall. Like when I'm in the elevator, like
if it's you, if
they'll
it's
want to know if it's they want to know if I'm wearing heel. Like they see me. It used to happen a lot more when people weren't as tall. I sound like I'm 80. I'm like back in the 1800s, nobody was tall, you know. But they, especially men.
Yeah.
They'll be like, huh, those are sneakers. She's really that tall. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
Like they look down and then they go, okay.
That's interesting. I always just get an elbow in my face. That's what I get from men in elevators.
Oh, God, you get their armpits. Poor
armpits.
thing.
Oh,
yeah.
Armpits are bad when you're short.
Yeah.
And then also breath.
Oh my God.
Because you're usually it comes down. It comes down. Or you're at the level of the mouth with a smaller man or a smaller person, but you're never escaping the breath. You're never above the breath.
Well, you know what I see? I remember this one guy I knew at the bank in Virginia. I could see all of his his hair growing little pods where his bald spot had these hair pods.
Isn't it so amazing though? I think this is so crazy because somehow it ties into the immigrant thing too, because it's perspective. It's like you just live with a different perspective of the world.
Yeah, you
up
do.
there and down here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And surely it like affects the way you feel, the way you see things.
Well, I remember even, and I had a joke about this, but it's true. Like I couldn't hear, like when I lived with Liz Mealy and our other friend who's not a comedian, and they're both 5'1", and I was like, I can't hear what they're saying. And I remember we'd go on these little like roommate outings, and I was like hunched over, and I was like, no wonder I had scoliosis. I was constantly, all my friends were short. I mean, I don't know what that means, but most of my friends are 5'1".
It's a fetish.
And I think it's because my mother
mom
is like that. And
of course.
I still probably don't want to be abandoned. So I seek mommy friends.
Mommy friends.
One of my first jokes, let me just tell you, one of my very first jokes was, I don't think I'm going to live a long life because I've never seen any really tall old ladies, because they really do die.
True.
Like, think about it. Like, okay, I asked a couple of elderly people this question just from the stage. I was like, how much do you shrink? And they've said on average 2 inches.
Right.
That means I'll be fine if I live, because I want to live till 100. I think it'd be fun if I take care of myself.
Yeah.
But there's no way there's going to be a 5'10", 100-year-old. Like, that just sounds off, doesn't it?
That's true. But, you could be the first. You'll be the first.
And then I'm going to start wearing heels because I'll be like, I missed those 2 inches.
And teasing your hair out to be really, really tall.
I'm going to be a whore at the nursing home. Yes.
Carmen, I always ask my guests if they grew up with any like sayings or proverbs or anything.
I don't know, but my mother knows a lot of quotes that she would say.
She would say stuff
that
Do you
she
remember
got
one?
from, but I don't know if they're real ones or if they came from like my grandmother
I love that.
from the village.
We are from the village.
We are from the village. But one of them was, algo es algo, dice un calvo cuando se encuentra con un peine. Which these aren't even like, algo es algo. Something is something, says the bald man when he finds a comb. This is the problem with Spanish like phrases, because my mother, she comes from a family where they would say them all the time. And one of the Spanish ones, to me, still makes no sense. And then she would translate it and say it in English, which is even worse. And I'm like, Mom, you can't say that in public.
What was it?
Like, it doesn't even make sense. She goes like this, ¿Qué te iba a decir? It's supposed to be funny. ¿Qué te iba a decir una mentira? What was I going to tell you? It was probably a lie anyway. Like that. So she'll do that. She'll be like, what was I going to tell you? A lie. That makes no sense. Stop with your phrases.
I love that.
Someone's going to take that literally and think you're lying to them.
There's
Anyway.
one of my favorite sayings in German is, what did you eat a clown for breakfast?
Okay.
If someone's being like too jovial, which is also such
Like
a
this?
yes, exactly, which is also such a German concept. I hate Germans. Yeah.
What did you eat, a clown for breakfast? That sounds like a dad joke, doesn't it?
But isn't that so like macabre? It's like, who comes up with that to like also like fart on
That's
someone's
true.
mood? You know,
Yeah.
someone's like, "Hey, what's up, everybody?" And you're like, "Would you eat a clown for breakfast? You fucking asshole! You happy piece of shit!"
Did you
know?
fuck a clown this morning?
Did you gang rape a fucking clown again? You fucking what the fuck? I'm 7.
Oh my! No, is this true about this German phrase? Okay, ich bin Berliner and ich bin ein Berliner, and one of them means I'm a jelly donut.
Yes.
Which one is the jelly donut?
Well, you know, now in our time of political correctness, people don't say Berliner anymore that much to the jelly donut.
right.
But it used to be, ich bin ein Berliner is I'm a jelly donut. Und ich bin Berliner, I'm from Berlin.
Oh, interesting.
So that's the JFK thing, right?
So yeah.
He said, ich bin ein Berliner.
So when I go to Berlin, hint, my show's coming up. Thank you, everybody. What should I say? What's like the cool phrase? Like,
You should say, hey Leute, habt ihr einen Clown gefrühstückt oder was?
okay, don't tell me. Oh, don't tell me. Say it slowly.
Hey Leute.
Hey, people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Habt ihr
Have you? Okay. Okay.
einen Clown
Clown. Ah!
gefrühstückt oder was?
Okay, I'm going to say, have you fucked a clown? But is it, have you
Habt ihr einen Clown gebumst?
gebumst? Gebumst is fuck?
Bumst? No, that's like a funny kind of like 90s way to say fuck.
Gebumst.
Because ficken in German, right? Ficken and fucking is not the same.
Oh.
Like ficken is kind of like a little gross. Like people don't
Yeah,
really
yeah,
say
yeah.
ficken as much as we say fucking.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. That sounds more like Spanish people are like that too.
Oh, really?
I feel like there's a certain words where you're like, yeah, we don't say that.
We don't say it so much.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird if you would say,
Yeah.
hast du einen Clown gefickt? That would be kind of crude, you know?
Yeah.
But like, ein Clown gebumst is funny. Bumsen is a funny way to say fucking, and it's kind of a Berlin way to say fucking.
Gebumps. Well, it
Gebumps.
sounds like you're fucking bump. Like
Yeah.
you're bumping against
It comes from
the
that.
counter. when
And then
you're
also,
fucking.
you'll
Yeah.
win in Berlin because the Berlin accent is that they don't say ich, they
Yeah.
say ich or icke.
Ich
Ich or icke.
or Ika. Okay.
And they don't say wie geht's, they say wie geht's
Vietz.
with a J sound.
It sounds like it's one word. Vietz.
Hey, wie geht's?
What about juice?
One of my favorite things in taking German classes when I was a kid was at one point there was a German exchange student, and the teacher would always say, oh, well, if you're the cool kids, like the slang versus the regular, the cool kids say this, and then one kid be like, no, we don't. Like, he's like, no one's ever said that phrase ever. And she hated it because she was getting told, like, you're wrong. Like, when was the last
That's
time you were in
so
Germany, you
funny.
idiot? Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah.
fun
He
to
was
watch
like,
her.
no, we don't, because there are no cool kids in Germany.
They're all cool kids. Yeah.
We are all weirdos.
Oh.
You know, I had a huge culture shock because I moved back to Germany when I was 18 and studied there. And that
Oh.
was so weird.
Okay, how was that weird?
It was so weird because everybody was German and I grew up in New York where nobody's just one thing.
But then did people think you were cool for that?
No, they hated me because Germans have an envy problem.
Yeah.
An America envy problem. And so they were like, oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
say hamburger again.
Ah!
Say hamburger, cheeseburger.
That's-
I'm so cool. I'm from New York.
That's so funny because Spain would also have an America jealousy. So when I would go to Spain every summer when I was a kid, my cousins would be like, you know, like they'd be drinking, I don't know, a special Spanish drink. Do you guys have this in America? Do you have pollo? And I'm like, well, we have something like it. Oh, but you don't have that? I'm like, fuck you. You don't have M&M's, asshole.
Yeah, well, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or sneakers. Or
Right.
freedom. God damn it. Wow. All right. Well, we've come to the very witching time of night where we must play a game real quick.
Ooh, fun. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, there's no right or wrong answers, but the FBI is
FBI!
watching you.
Which one do you want? Tell me I want to be an agent.
If you had to shoot one member of U.S. Congress right now, would you A, shoot them, B, ask a friend to shoot them, C, tell the Speaker of the House that you want to shoot them, or C,
It would
go
be
back to
D.
Spain? Oh, I already said C?
Yeah.
Oh,
You just failed.
fuck. I don't know that.
Or D, go back to Spain. I love that. I'll go back to... Me voy a España. Ya no puedo más, por favor.
All right. Carmen Lynch of Virginia by way of Tortosa.
Ah, nice. Good accent.
Gracias por su paciencia is what
Sí.
you learn when
Muy
you
bien.
spend a lot of time on phone lines waiting for shit. Are you ready for the poll questionnaire?
Yes.
Okay. If you were president of the United States of America, what American food would you ban?
Immediately, can it be like a group of foods?
Yes.
Cereal.
Whoa.
Like the sugary cereals. I'm sorry, but-
Controversial. Controversial. Why?
Okay, so my boyfriend and his son eat like Fruit Loops, Lucky Charms, and all that shit that I ate as a child too.
Uh-huh.
But I just look at that and I see cancer. I see
Yeah.
it's just so bad for you.
You know, I have to say, I got food poisoning from cereal
You did?
recently.
Uh-huh.
And I was going to send the cereal to a lab to have it
Uh-huh.
analyzed because I thought, this is my chance to actually make the American dream come true, which is suing a random company and getting like $5 million.
Yes, you should.
My doctor was like, don't do that. You're going to waste your time. But it was gnarly.
What did you have like a parasite?
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah.
I came home late from shows. I was so
Yeah.
hungry. It was like 2 a.m. I opened this new box of cereal, and it was Nature's Path, so not
Okay.
Fruit Loops. Okay.
All right. I'm going to keep that one.
No,
Sorry.
don't.
Oh.
And it smelled like turpentine
Ew.
or like a cement factory. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, fuck it. I'm hungry. It's just the box that smells like this. I ate 2 gigantic gigantic bowls.
Yeah.
And then I shat my brains out for 3 weeks. Literally, I'm not joking. I couldn't
Don't you feel better now that you've gotten so much out of your system? Like it's almost like you had a free enema or something.
You know what? Actually,
Like,
you're right. The
yeah.
one thing I did notice, because I've never fasted, but I've always been kind of like curious about it, but I've never had the willpower to do it.
Do it.
But I basically did.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't eat anything. And what I realized was I didn't need to after a while.
No, and you feel light and fun.
Yes.
Don't you feel fun?
You feel light and clear-headed.
and clear, and then you have one drink, and it's like you had 5. Listen, I've had colonoscopies, and the best part is having drinking that thing the night before, because you lose a couple pounds and you get rid of all the crap inside of you.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you say colonoscopy in Spanish? Colonoscopy.
Colonoscopia.
Colonoscopy.
O saca la caca.
Okay, question number 2. If you could deport one American person, who would you deport?
Señorita. I mean, I want to say Trump, but that's so cliche.
No, actually, not a lot of people say it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It would be fun to get rid of him, I think.
Okay, where
Yeah.
would you send him?
Where would I send? I would send him to the beach so he can get a real tan, because I'm sick of that orange face. That
I love it.
orange, I hate it.
Great.
Yeah.
What's the most Spanish thing you've ever done?
Oh my God. This Christmas we had we bought a giant pig's leg, and it's jamón serrano.
Ah, sí, claro.
And I know it's from Costco. That's not very Spanish. But let me tell you, you get the whole thing, except they took the hoof off. But you get the whole leg, and then you just go home and you slice it like that.
With that face.
Yeah, with the giant knife, just like my grandma used to. And then you know what you do to make sure that giant thing doesn't dry up? You take the pieces of fat that come off the leg and you throw them back on. And the grease from the parts you cut out, it keeps that leg moist. And it can last for weeks.
Wow. And then you just yell, Ole!
Pero señores y señoras, voy a enseñarte cómo decir.
That's how you eat the jamón serrano. What's the most American thing you've ever done?
I mean, the most American thing I've done, hallelujah, I think is just to hang out and see the fireworks.
Oh.
And just do my own, you know. You know, in Virginia, you just kind of light everything, your yard on fire. And it's
I
fun.
love it. That's great.
I think the most American thing you've ever done was buy your Spanish ham at Costco. It's the same answer for both.
I love Costco. That was a great answer.
I've never been to Costco.
What?
No.
Can
Never.
I just tell you that might be embarrassing now. These leggings, Costco.
Really?
That jacket, winter jacket, Costco.
I didn't know they had clothes.
They have clothes.
Really?
Yeah. And then you go, you get your clothes first because you pass the clothes, and then you get your fruit. So you've got a bag full of like Long Johns and grapes.
But isn't everything in bulk?
Yes, you have to buy 12 Long Johns. No, but you do. I mean, some stuff individual, but the Long Johns, my sister and I were like, let's get a packet. We'll share it. You got to do that.
If you could add one amendment to the Constitution, what would you add? U.S. Constitution.
Not the Japanese one.
I know you're an expert, but that's next time.
Amendment to the American Constitution. Longer pants for tall people. Listen, Express only has them online, okay? I want to see them at the stores.
If you had to make up a catchphrase for the United States of America, what would it be?
Is Make America Great Again? Has that one been taken? Everybody relax.
I love that. This is true.
Come
Everybody
on.
relax. Yeah.
Let go.
Yeah.
That's two catchphrases.
In the words of Frozen.
Yeah.
Letting
Just
go.
whatever's bothering you, just let it go. And by let it go, I mean the gun, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a real pick-me-up. Thanks, Carmen.
Wait, there was one more question. That was going to be the exciting
ending on
one.
a high note here. Yeah, there is one more
okay.
question. It's, why is everything so depressing? No, Carmen, do you know how I can meet David Hasselhoff?
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Carmen just noticed that David Hasselhoff is behind
How
me.
much eye surgery has he had?
I think that's, yeah. He's had a lot of eyes.
He looks like
Asian
that
there.
Latino magician.
Or that lion woman.
Or the lion woman, but he looks like that Latino psychic. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, I only know Miss
Oh,
Cleo.
I think he's dead.
Calling me now. Remember
Oh,
her?
okay. Too much eye work there.
There's a lot of eye work.
But why? I got to find out. Why are you? I almost brought him up actually because when we were talking about growing up in Spain,
Yeah.
after my cousins would be like, well, do you have tartutitas in America? Then we'd go to the other room and we'd watch Knight Rider in Spanish because they would do,
yes,
there were
they
certain
dubbed them.
shows that they would, old shows that they would dub.
Of course.
And so I know him as mostly a Spanish car driver.
Well, I'm German. It's mandatory for all Germans to have liked David Hasselhoff at some point in their life.
Right.
I was a fan, a big fan. I went to a David Hasselhoff concert.
What did he do? Did he sing?
He sings. He's
Oh,
famous
that's
in Germany for
right.
being a singer.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. He's a
You know
terrible
who was
singer.
my David Hasselhoff? Tom Selleck.
But that's
God.
actually, I mean, that's got some class. All right, so you don't have an answer, huh, for how to meet David Hasselhoff, I guess?
No, but
Okay.
he might be at my show in Berlin. Where does he live?
That is so true. He's totally going to be at your show. Carmen, please tell us you're on tour in Europe.
Yes.
You're
Should I say
obviously
more?
have a website and you're on TikTok and Instagram. Where can people find you?
Okay, all socials at Carmen Comedian. So
With a
TikTok
C.
has a lot of C, Carmen Comedian, like Karma Chameleon, but with C's. And if you're Spanish, my Instagram is Carmen en Español. At Carmen en Español. And then all my shows, and there's some in America in February, and then I go to Europe in March, and that's all on carmenlynch.com.
And you have a podcast, right?
I have a podcast. I have one in English called The Human Centipede,
Yeah.
which is not about the movie, The Human Centipede.
Good.
And
Very, very good.
that'd be weird if like we did 100 episodes
Yeah.
of one movie.
Of people
that
being stuck
sucked.
to each other's
Yes.
asses.
And then I have a Spanish one called Podría Ser Peor.
Oh.
And it's with the Venezuelan radio guy. His name is Luis Chateng.
People can find you. If you don't speak Spanish, it doesn't matter. You should also listen to the Spanish podcast because learn a fucking new language.
Yeah, why don't
Okay?
you do it? And every
What's
once in
wrong
a
with you?
while, I do say something in English.
Go follow Carmen if you don't already. Go to her shows. Send her long pants. Very, very long pants.
I'm
the
a
longest
6L.
pants. Okay.
6L.
The longest pants you've ever seen. If you're a seamstress, make some. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Immigrant Jam, the podcast. Thank you to Mike Albanese, our amazing producer, the best in the business. If you listen to this podcast, please give us a little rating, a little review. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't cost you anything. It's so beautiful for us. If you like it, tell a friend. If you hate it, tell your enemies. Tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your grandma. We love you. Thank you. Goodbye.
David Hasselhoff.
If you like what you just heard, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, recommend to all your friends. And if you hated it, recommend it to your enemies. Thank you for listening to Immigrant Jam, the podcast with me, Lucie Pohl. Have a delicious and nutritious day.